another episode of Let Them See Your Mind. It's your girl, LD Marie, and we are back. Thank you so much for all the love that you gave me in my prior video. Go ahead and like, subscribe, promote this channel all over wherever you listen, whether it be YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, or any other listening platforms. We're also on Amazon Music, and we are on Google. So thank you so much. So today we are going to be talking about realities of moving across the pond. So my first video, realities of crossing the pond, was all talking about money, just the realities of moving over to a different country and settling, but it's just the money factor because everybody talks about money, money, money. And that was very much explained in my previous video. Today is part 2 of realities of moving across the pond, building social and support networks while you're over here. So now this is totally completely different than you moving from one city to another in the States, or just moving one state to another in the States. All of it is pretty much the same, but it's different. It's different when you move from a different culture all the way to what you've known until now. And we're going to get into a lot of those cultural aspects in a different video, but today we're focusing on just building a social network. So as you guys know, I've been over here since October 2021. And during that time, I had to build a life here. I had to build my social networks. I had to go from ground zero, being the new kid on the block, and gaining some different perspective and also expanding my friendship group. Now, if you know me in person, I'm very friendly. I'm easily to get along with. So it wasn't that hard to make friends. It's just the act of keeping them around. And so when you're first moving over here, and if you're just by yourself, you don't have any friends that's moved over here, you don't have any relatives or family or anything like that, it kind of gets difficult. So with me, I was lucky enough that 2 social workers that I've grown close with, you have already seen her on the show, Tori, and then also another friend of mine. We met before we moved over here. And I've told this story before where literally I met both of them on a virtual recruitment event, and we talked and we all got the same job, and we moved within 3 weeks of each other. And so I very much encourage you to do that, because if you're going to be moving to a different country, and you yourself and I need to figure out who your friends are, and you need to figure out and build relationships, because if you don't build those relationships, you're going to fan out and go back home. And that was the main key, because some of the things that I have said before, even Tori has said before on this channel, that the main reason why we're still over here is because of the friendships and the bonds that we have made, especially with Tori, especially with other friends that I have grown accustomed to, and me being a part of one of the greatest sororities ever. I've been recently gotten close to some of my other sorority sisters that live in the United Kingdom. So buckle up. We're going to talk about it all. So, like I said, I moved over here in October 2021. I already had 2 friends that I reacquainted with, but mind you, I have never met them in person. Never in my life met them in person. I just met them through online chats and LinkedIn and everything else. So when we all moved together, we all kind of gravitated for each other. And also, when I first moved over here, there were a lot of people that said like, oh, I have family members. I also have a couple of friends, and I have some other people that I could connect with. So that's where my friend Dawn comes in. So if you go back to one of my other videos where I spent the weekend and I celebrated her college graduation when she moved over here, then she was one of the first people that I met over here as a fellow American expat. And we got together through my sorority sister, Marquita, and we got the communication going from there. She was actually one of the people that came down from London to Southampton to help me move into my apartment and get everything situated, where we all connected, where my Southampton chicks, that I like to call them, we connected with Dawn, and we spent the day together. We had fun together. Dawn was even the first person I spent Thanksgiving with, and Thanksgiving was very, very hard because it was the first holiday that was with family, and I was over here, and I was by myself. I even cried. And Dawn sought me through it. And I forever appreciate her for that in regards to everything, because she was one of the people that I held close to in the beginning stages of me moving over here. And so that was one. All the other people that kind of said, like, oh, I have family here. You can connect with this people. Can you connect with that people? I didn't really connect with those other people. I mean, the offer was stood, but I just never actually just reached out and said, hey. And a lot of the people that I was getting connected with were in London. And so, me being on the coast of England, in Southampton, and everybody's in London, there's not really much. I did do the connection with Dawn, granted, but it was just kind of out of place because I was so far away. Well, in UK terms, I was so far away because Southampton is only 2.5 hours from London, but over here, one of the culture shocks is that 2.5 hours is just like forever. And that's kind of what it kind of sounded. So I was very much in a very isolated type of group. I didn't really have too many friends outside of Tori and my other friend. And so because of that, I started to get into like zoning into my interests. But I also was looking out for others. So one of my sorority sisters back in Texas, she sent me a link for an organization, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But let me focus first on just the interest in general. So I focused on my interest, and if you followed me on my personal page, Diary of BBW 21, I started heel classes. I started heel classes in August of 2020 during a pandemic, and that was my release. That was my fun. It was very much shout out to T the brand for having those heel classes during that time, because it was very much a fun sisterly outing, and you got to feel sensual, you got to feel sexy, and you got to expand on your sisterhood skill. Your not sisterhood. You got to expand on your dance skills, and literally, she was getting us into moves, testing our abilities, and very much. And so I was looking for that. I was very much looking for that type of environment. And even then, it was just more or less just trying to recreate something over here. And I even tried to do other things while being in this space virtually, but it didn't work out. But I just had to make my own space here. So dance was one of them. So I went on good old Google and searched for dance studios in Southampton. Now, mind you, Southampton is way different than London whatsoever. So I was to find a heel class within Southampton, and I did find one. It was DM Studios. It was a dance class that was going about. I went a few classes. I enjoyed myself, but I really didn't feel like I was being pushed, or I was really just kind of, it was low. So, because I'm used to learning a routine within a class period. It wasn't like extended. It was very much, but this was just my opinion. It had nothing to do with the studios whatsoever. But I just felt that there was a lot of just prep and not enough dancing and not enough teaching. So I ended up finding Immersive Dance Company, and I went to my first class and I fell in love. And it was very much the class, the environment that I wanted to be in. And I started going every week. I started doing those types of things. And then when I actually started working in the UK environment and being a social worker, the stresses of that, I started going less and less, but I found something that I could do my inner release, and I found a little support system in there, but I wasn't really connecting. Like, I connected with the teacher, I connected with other students in class, but it just didn't go outside of the classroom. So that's when, okay, so all of this is being done. I was introduced, like I said previously, I was introduced by my sorority sister, where there was a club that was called the Black Girls Social Club. And I was introduced to her because she sent me a DM. She said they have a chapter in the United Kingdom, and you should try to go and get with these Black women, because this was an American organization. They had a UK chapter. And then also, with me being an AKA, at that time I didn't know where the AKAs were. Like, I did try to search a little bit, but I didn't go on the corporate red site to try to figure it out. I just did like my own little searches outside of it, and I couldn't find any. So I didn't know there was a whole type of thing before I think last year. But anyway, going back to the Black Girl Social Club, I reached out, I joined, and that's where we meet Michelle. Michelle was the president at the time. She was the president at the time of the chapter. And I very much came in with my overeager and loving self and outgoing self, and I came in and bum righted this whole group. She may say different, but I just kind of came in first a virtual event, and I was just kind of just trying to know people, and I wanted to get connected with the other women. It was a mix of women, of American women, also British women. So I was very much like, yes, I think this is going to be something very good. And one day, I was having a hard time at work, and Michelle doesn't mind me telling the story. So I had a hard time at work, and I kind of just went into the group, and I asked, I was like, is anybody available to give professional advice? Michelle answered, and we had a conversation. During the first 2 weeks of being at my new job, it was being very stressful because I was just coming into this culture. I just moved. A lot of things at the time were expected of me, and I was going crazy, and I was getting into it with my manager, and I was on the verge of just typing my manager a very unprofessional email. And so I read the email to her, and she was like, "Whoa, did you send it?" I said, "No." She said, "Thank God." And so she sat there, and she was like, "Okay, this is what you need to say. This is what you need to do," and all that stuff. And I was like, "Can you give that in a template, because I'm not gonna remember all that." So she gave me a real template really quickly, because Michelle, she'd been in the UK like 2 years prior, and I was. So she has been very much in familiar with the UK work culture, and she worked in corporate. I was in the public sector working for a local authority, but UK people are still the same. And so, regardless of if it's corporate or just in the public sector, in regards to social work, the woke culture is very much broad and very much the same. So she knew the game, and she got me an email, and I wrote it, and I got back, and it was simple. And that's when it kind of got a little bit better for me at the job, when I was able to kind of tone it down, get back into reality, and try to learn what the UK workforce is really about. And so she very much helped me with that. And then ever since that day that she kind of helped me out, we've been thick as thieves. Like, we've traveled together. I've come up to her house when I was staying in Southampton, and I was staying with her, and she literally became my big sister within a matter of 6 months. Like, that was big sis. That was there. She's always been there for me. She's been the biggest support since I've been outside of Tory. And it was great. That was kind of the start of me building my own social networks and social support systems within the United Kingdom, where I had, you have your close friends that you tell everything to, and that you kind of build on, and you get those types of things. And then you have your other friends, the ones that are acquaintances, but they're friends, and you kind of talk with them at times, but not really much. But when y'all get together, y'all are very much no day has gone by. I think those are the low maintenance friends. And then you have the outside acquaintances. So yeah, I started building my support, where in essence, I love my social life outside of my work life at the time. And it was great. I did have a fellow coworkers that came in, that I talked to outside of work. We went to lunch, like one of my coworkers, and I am grateful to him to this day. Even though we are not talking anymore, he's left the position and everything else. But I am grateful for him to kind of he took me, and he showed me how. Like, he took me to my Sunday roast. We talked a little bit. We hung out, and it just kind of crossed his paths and went our separate ways. That happens. Sometimes it's not as close as what you've built. And so, with that being said, it was very much me building those social networks and social support systems that kept me here as long as I have been, and now I love my life, and I want to continue to foster those relationships with Dawn, with Michelle, with Tori, with my other big sister from Southampton, grow them even further, and also just have the support networks of not only BGSC with the members, because I've met amazing women in that social club where it's very much a supportive network. We haven't been meeting as often as we should, but it's always a good time when we get together, and it's always laugh, jokes, and everything else, because we all love that friendship, that sisterhood that we've grown. So those were very much some of the things that came about within the first 2 years of me being here. Now, within the first 2 years of me being here, I started to get my groove. I had my support system. We were growing into my 2 years and being here, and it's almost two and a half years now. In I would say in July of last year, that's when I found my sorors, my sisters. I found my sisters. I went to an alpha picnic, and this was something that I was very much excited because I wanted to explore opportunities and also see if there were other sorors within the United Kingdom. To my surprise, there's a lot of sorors in the United Kingdom. And also, I think I've been to other networks where I finally got into the Black American WhatsApp group, Black Americish, London or the United Kingdom. And so that was a lot of resources in there. And so meeting with a whole bunch of other Black Americans that chose to move over to the United Kingdom, that was another network that I can tap into and meet friends, where I met Waythera, and also met Thomas, and also a number of other members, DM, like D, like other alphas. Like it was very much a good bonding thing, and that's where I found out about where I went to. I did find out about it last year, but I was actually in Portugal. Well, not last year. I say that. In 2022, I was in Portugal, and I couldn't go to the Alpha picnic because I was in Portugal. So I went this year. I made it a point to go this year so I can connect a little bit more. And so I went to the picnic. It was not like your typical Black picnic when we first got there, because when you go to a black picnic, you expect to hear like booming music, you hear the barbecue, you hear the loud music, you hear the tables going, this, that, and the third. We're in a public park, y'all. And so I'm listening for music, and it's not anywhere. We eventually found what Alphas was, but of course they weren't set up, music wasn't going. It was just like, did I come early? I mean, like, we were late though. Did we come early? He's like, no, we still setting up and everything else. But then as time went on, of course, it became that atmosphere of we're back in America. But we couldn't be too Black because we were not in a Black area in order to do that, where we had loud music. We even had somebody come over and yell at us because the music was too loud. Hey, different culture, different things, but we still had a good time. It was a vibe. It was definitely a vibe in regards to everything. And I got to meet not all, let me take that back. I didn't meet all of them. I met a good portion of my sorority sisters there, and it was a good time. Like, I felt at home, because like I miss those outings where I was Theta Omega. I missed that kind of sisterhood, the work that was done with Alpha Kappa Alpha. I missed that, and that was kind of the piece that was missing with here in the United Kingdom. And so I connected. I was able to get into a Sorors only WhatsApp group, and I was able to connect with other Sorors. And so because of that, now a few months down the line, there was talk about actually doing a chapter here in the United Kingdom. And there was a lot of people that actually wanted to come about and do it. And now I'm proud to introduce to you guys the Royal Pearl Society of London, United Kingdom, an official interest group of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, where your girl is going to be on point to become a charter member. Now, we have a lot of work to do within the United Kingdom, and we have a lot of things that we have planned. And so just even tapping into my AKA network is now another support system that I have within the United Kingdom. And it makes it more complete because now I'm doing the work. Now it's tiring work. I get you. It's very much tiring, but it's the work that we want to spread. And even before we started doing this, I didn't even realize there was a chapter here not too long ago and it was dissolved. And nobody really knows why it got dissolved, but if you know, if you're sore or you know, just let me know, figure that out. But at that point, we just don't know, but that's fine. We're still going ahead and moving ahead, and we are trying to create a chapter that's going to be sustainable and be here. And that's what any chapter does as far as an AKA. And so I will be on that journey with that with 27 other phenomenal women and doing this process. And so with the other women, we are in for an uphill battle because we're navigating different processes, we're navigating different things, and it just goes back to day one of an organization that we love, and this is an organization that I love. And so now I have an additional support system in doing that. And I'm super happy that I'm able to be a part of that. And that's how slowly but surely I was able to build support networks and support systems for myself here in the United Kingdom. Now, people that don't have an organization that they love or that are connected to, I encourage them to look out for other organizations that are to your interest, not only to the interests that I mentioned, whether it's dance or whether it's just being with Black women, but just other organizations in general. So if you are looking to move across the pond, you have to get yourself out there. You have to connect with other Facebook groups. You have to connect with Instagram. Like, you have to do your research. I've always told you guys, do your research before you move over to a completely different country, because in order for you to do what you need to do and survive and sustain, you have to have a support network. There's no doubt. You have to have a support network. You have to have a support system. You have to have friends. And it starts day one in kindergarten. You got to meet your friend. You got to go out, or you reach out in other areas where if you're not going out as much, you just reach out into your interest area, whether it be Facebook groups, Instagram, TikTok, those types of things. It's important. It's important in order to thrive, or you will flame out within your first year of moving, and you just don't know why, because you're miserable. And I have been there. I have been there where I felt miserable, but I've had my support system come to me and say, you got this. The main reason when I took my mental health break that I spoke about in one of my other videos is that the main people that got me through it were the main people that I mentioned today. And they're the ones that were very much like, okay, if you know what you're doing, you know what's right, and yeah. But they were also very much in the headspace of, like, if it doesn't happen, then she has to move back. I have to move back. That's basically what I have to do. I have to move back. But that wasn't God's plan. God's plan was to keep me right here and just put me in a different space, in a different area. And now I'm doing that and thriving and I'm very much appreciative of that. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this conversation. If you please don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that little bell just to notify when each episode comes about. If you're listening on the audio platforms of Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and Amazon Music, please follow those channels, click on click on the button to make sure that you're notified of all new episodes that come onto this channel. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time, because we are out.